Hi there. We want to ask you something. What comes to your mind when we say diabetes? Probably some relative that you know that has dietary restrictions, especially around sugar, is it? Let's take a journey together, shall we? Before we begin, let's take a moment and take a deep breath. Go on, do it. Now, go ahead and pinch yourself. It can be anywhere, your arm, thighs, abdomen. Feel the pinch. So do it a little bit harder. Now, let's pin somebody next to you. Hesitant much? We thought so. Now, let's think of a child that you know. It could be anybody, your son, daughter, niece, nephew, that cute little neighbor, or the kid that you saw at the supermarket. Now, imagine them being pinched. Ouch. Don't like the thought of that. Well, we don't either. But that's the reality of a child with type 1 diabetes. Type 1 diabetes is when pancreas in your body fail to produce insulin and is a lifelong condition. Since their childhood, people with type 1 prick themselves several times a day. Sometimes to give themselves insulin because they need it for survival, or sometimes just to check their sugar levels in a day. The sugar levels in our body is affected literally by everything that we do. Since we mentioned earlier that this condition affects children that are quite young to take such responsibilities, it's usually the mothers that take care of the condition on their kids' behalves. Now let's take a look at what the mother's journey is like. Now, just being a mother means switching between multiple roles, and the condition adds its own share of things to take care of. Now, a mother has to be mindful about every little minute detail of the child's life, like what the child is eating, is he exercising, hoping he's not exercising too much, constantly checking the sugar levels to make sure they're under normal range, and the list goes on and on. And if that was not enough, being a mother of a type 1 child in India adds its own share of challenges. Now, they're not just battling all of the worries that comes along with it, they're battling a lot of societal taboos that people usually look at as a limitation, and life events now become battles that these mothers have to fight. Worrying about an inclusive school or their marriage, or worrying about their kids' acceptance in the society, or even their own acceptance in the society leaves these mothers in an exhausting situation. Well, that's exactly what it feels like being a mother of a type 1 constantly. But you're constantly dodging everyone's opinions and advices while trying to stay focused on your child health. The minute we recognized this struggle, we knew we had to do something about it. So we took a designed research approach to address this challenge and started looking at how could we help these primary caretakers. Let's see what we found out. So we began with researching about the condition, the problem, the existing solutions to the condition, and understanding the challenge in depth. We did a qualitative and a quantitative study. We hosted multiple interviews with mothers, some experts, and even people who've been living with the condition for a while. We were looking for the right questions to ask so we could solve for them. That was the first phase that was explore and identify. Once we knew what were the right questions to ask, what were the right challenges we needed to solve for, we moved to phase 2, where we started ideating about them and co-creating it with our users and within the team. Once we knew what concepts worked or what concepts we wanted to go ahead with, we moved on to our third phase, which was testing them and putting them out there for our users to see what works and what doesn't work with them, and eventually scaling it up to the larger audience. Let's look at it a little bit more in depth. So for the first phase, what were the right questions to ask and how did we get to them? Through a lot of secondary research, we found out that there are about 700,000 type 1 diabetic children in India. And globally, there are about 1.1 million children that suffer from this condition. The reason this condition needed better management was because a child typically loses 20 years of their lives if they're diagnosed with type 1. And it could be worse if not managed well. Then we looked at what were the barriers that were stopping these primary caretakers from managing the condition well for their kids. There were gaps majorly around 2 issues that hindered the management. One was not knowing what to do when something was happening to their kids and not knowing what was really happening in their child's body. And the other bit was because they lacked motivation and support to constantly stay consistent in this journey of management. As we've seen, it's an exhausting and an extensive journey. Now, it wasn't just about the barriers. We were also looking at what kind of things really worked well. So we looked at some things that were working well for these mothers and that helped them get through this journey a little bit better. Not surprisingly enough, we realized that it was meaningful human interactions and connections that got them through. It was whether it was through other people, family, experts, or even especially the other experienced mothers. So now we knew that we needed to enable and empower the mothers with the right information and support for a well-managed diabetes. This is what we were able to sum up in the explore and identify stage. And then once we knew this is what we were solving for, we moved on to the next phase. Over to you, Apurva, to help us take us through the second phase.
We're going to talk about our second phase, which is ideating and co-creating, where we arrived at our problem statement and started solving for that. So we arrived at a brief as to how might we empower the primary caretakers to manage the condition well. While we were delving deep into understanding the complication and the experiences that the primary caretakers were going through, we realized that there are multiple gaps. Firstly, it's a complex condition to understand for newly diagnosed parents. There are multiple sources through which this information is available, and the credibility of the source is at question. It is heavy text and filled with jargon, therefore, it becomes difficult for the parents to comprehend. Most of the information we see is in English, therefore, creating a language barrier, which rules out people from different communities. We also understood that there is limited emotional support. So after analyzing the gaps and after a million brainstorming sessions later, we realized that we're looking at a solution that is holistic and comprehensive guide to everything that is type 1 diabetes, which is easy to understand and is fun and not overwhelming. We were looking for something that has more of a personalized approach and not in a textbook format. Something that is verified by experts, and most importantly, something that facilitates support within the community and experts. So moving into the direction of solution, we realized that we were solving for essentially two things. Firstly, access to right information and tools. And secondly, how can we provide community and expert support? So around the information, we drafted our first brief, which was how might we take the right information and tools accessible to the primary caretakers. But what is the information that the primary caretakers need to manage the condition well and holistically? So this was the question that we were thinking about. Now, type 1 is a long-term condition, and there are various aspects that goes into managing the condition. So we took these aspects and divided them into 5 segments. We began with care, medical and emotional, then diet, fitness, lifestyle, and parenting. While we were curating the information, now was the turn where we were thinking that how do we educate the primary caretakers? That is essentially our mothers. We came up with an interactive online program, which is called Mellitus Moms. The project's aim wasn't to share information to be able to treat the children, but to be able to make positive change in their day-to-day lives, and even harder, sustain those changes. This approach was rooted in capabilities, where the idea is not to patch up their needs, but foster the capabilities of the primary caretakers, that are our mothers. And that was achieved by two things: access to right information and facilitating constant community support. So what does that look like? The information comes in the form of an app. What you see here is a topic from the program broken down into simplistic form. We made sure that the information is not text heavy and communicates the concepts visually. Along with that, we had an added feature for our users to be able to go through the information through an audio guide. The content designed here is in English. We realized that the language preferred by our user group is a mix of both Hindi and English. We also added interactive bits such as stories from personal accounts, myths, mythbusters, hacks to make it a personalized experience. Now that we were looking into information, we came to our second brief: how might we enable the community to support each other? We realized that we're looking for something which can create meaningful experiences within the community through consistent online interactions. And what does that look like? So we hosted multiple workshops on various topics with our experienced mothers and the primary caretakers. So the primary caretakers, we call them as super moms, and the experienced mothers and experts, we call them as Mellitus gurus. Bringing on experienced mother was a major breakthrough for us because that gave the super moms confidence that they're not alone in this journey. We also realized that initially that the mothers were hesitant in sharing their stories, but we could see a gradual improvement with each session, and that was because the Mellitus gurus really helped us build stronger connection. That was also because they could relate to the experienced mothers, our super moms. So workshop was one bit. We also have WhatsApp group where we try to create interactions. And here we share useful information in different formats. So here we're sharing recipes. We've hosted multiple campaigns like around diet and festivals. And we also like to celebrate different achievements from super kids and super moms. The idea is to create engagement and build a stronger community. Now, because it is around engagement, how do we know that it's working? So here is an example where we're creating organic everyday interaction. So here the supermoms took the ownership and they started sharing videos from their everyday lives. And this created a lot of engagement on our WhatsApp group. Now this is our third stage, and over to you, Ankita.
So then let's talk about the third phase where we really test our ideas out with a larger audience and scale it up. Everything that you've seen so far has been from our testing phase. All of the testimonials, all of the videos and pictures that you saw were while we were co-creating these modules with our users. Now our solution currently focuses on tier 2 cities, and we are scaling it up as we go. So like you saw, all of these were in a language that was preferred to that audience. It was designed in a manner which was visually appealing more to our audience than focusing on an overall aesthetic. We are also currently building our MVP, a minimum viable product, which would be able to help us reach out to more mothers as we go. And it should be live in a couple of months. We are willing to design whatever it takes to help them. And the idea is to make sure that every person that's impacted by type 1 has at least access to the right knowledge and support that they need for this journey. We advocate the idea of no person left behind. We've just begun to showcase our insights and what our journey looks like online. So if you want to, please join us on this journey there, and you will be able to see how the rest of the story unfolds. With that, we are at the end of this talk from our side. And as we close, we're wishing you a healthier and a happier future.